Welcome to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Zolo, the operating system for the solo economy. Every week, we're serving up an audio cocktail of expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing to help you grow your borderless business to new heights and live life on your own terms. So kick back, grab a snack, let's get started. Lona Alia isn't exactly a freelancer right now, although she certainly has been. But she is head of revenue at SafetyWing, who are creating benefits and insurance products for the location-independent solopreneur economy, helping to level the playing field and enable freelancers to enjoy the same assurances and cover that employees traditionally have, particularly when leading a more mobile lifestyle. So understanding that lifestyle of their customers is essential to do this work well. And Lona embodies the digital nomad, employeepreneur mindset and approach in everything that she does, including traveling with her young family and embracing real work-life flexibility while managing her team by results. As such, she is a great example of the solopreneur orientation at work within an enterprise, and a fantastic example too of the way lines are becoming ever more fluid between contracting careers and business growth. So it won't surprise you that she's got some really interesting insights to share about the future of work and business and life in general. The future is surely a freelance approach everywhere, and this interview will help you think about that in some new and interesting ways. So welcome, Lona. It's great to have you on The Future is Freelance. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your work.
Thank you, Maya. It's really great to be here with you. I really enjoy our conversations over the last year. My name is Lona. I am the head of revenue at SafetyWing. I'm also a Y Combinator founder. I am an advisor to many different startups, EU for Innovation. And I just love everything that has to do with remote work, freelancers, and people that are living life on their own terms, just how they want to do it versus having someone else tell them what to do.
Fantastic. That sounds like everything that we're all about here on this podcast. And I know that whilst you're obviously now in a senior employed role, you have a lifestyle personally that's very much digitally nomadic with your family. Please tell us a little bit about what your typical life looks like these days. And I don't mean having COVID last week, which we're all moving on from. What does it look like normally?
Thank you, Maya. Yeah, we love living this life on our own terms and kind of like choosing the countries where also we can use geo arbitrage to our advantage. I know you had Andreas on the show maybe a couple episodes ago, and he talks a lot about geo arbitrage, and I love that because with a family it gets quite expensive if you're in Western countries. Let's say we are based in the US, and our life there can be about $10,000 a month with the two kids, taking them to daycare, whereas in a country like Mexico or Albania or Portugal, you're looking at sometimes a tenth of the price. So wow. It's quite a difference. And it really makes sense to use that to your advantage when you can, save as much money so that that money you can invest in the things that you want versus just living this life kind of like paycheck by paycheck, where a lot of people do in the US because the cost of living is so high.
Yes, and parts of Europe as well.
And parts of Europe as well, yes.
And how old are your children now, enjoying this amazing lifestyle?
They're 3.5, almost 4, and then almost 2. So we started traveling as soon as the first one was born, went overseas. He was born in New York. Then we went to Europe, bought a car, started going down from Germany to Austria to Croatia to Albania to different parts of the world. And we haven't stopped since. We don't really have a home, so we just go from Airbnb to Airbnb. And we figure out kind of like the daycare situation, preschool in each country we go to. And that has worked out really well for us so far. Of course, it does get tiring because you're always on the move. So at one point we will have a home base, but right now we don't have a home base.
Well, it's like the world is your home and your classroom and your daycare. What an incredible experience for those two young people to be enjoying, whilst they're young enough that you don't need to think about their sort of complex educational questions. It's just really exciting that you're able to live like that. It feels to me like the world has really shifted massively in the past couple of years in terms of enabling this lifestyle. And there's obviously a lot going on in the corporate world that's enabling employees to take advantage of digital nomad visas and work policies and so on. On this show, we're addressing the needs of freelancers and solopreneurs particularly. And I was very interested to talk to you because of your work at SafetyWing and how you're supporting this community to enjoy the same kind of safety and benefits. So could you talk to us a little bit about how that infrastructure is changing and where you see it going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great question because it is a question that many have, especially as a lot of people are freelancers and they are doing work in terms of how they want to do work versus being in a corporate office, being told to be somewhere or tied to a location. We see that more and more people don't want to be tied to a location. They want to be location independent. Therefore, they take matters into their own hands and they will start a business, whether it be a solopreneur or maybe they're in a platform like Zolo and seek work, contract work from there. We did see a big problem years ago in around 2018, where we saw that freelancers were really not being taken care of when it came to the global social safety net. And what I mean by that is health insurance, retirement, pension plans, life insurance, income protection. So like if you are not making income for a month, what do you do? So we saw an opportunity to really help out freelancers. In fact, one of our founders, Sandra, he founded a freelance platform as well many years ago out of Combinator. And he saw that the biggest problem having this platform was that they couldn't provide benefits because benefits were tied to the employer. And he thought, why couldn't we untie those benefits from the employer and untie them from the country and give them to people like freelancers as well as people in other countries where they don't have great health insurance? So we started offering this product called Remote Health, which is a fully equipped health insurance. And it just gives freelancers the ability to say, hey, I want to be covered. Let me add this coverage. It's not very expensive, maybe about $100 a month. And it covers you in different countries, in over 180 countries. If you want to be nomadic like I am, so let's say you spend 3 months in Mexico, 4 months in Portugal, 6 months in Italy, and you don't really have anything that would cover you in that way, SafetyWing is really perfect for those. So we are kind of like building that infrastructure for the future. And we saw this because of freelancers, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is a movement that we're part of, and it's wonderful to, in our different ways and with all our listeners, to be part of that shift away from that corporate mindset. But I do think that the benefits safety net is what holds a lot of people back, particularly in senior professional positions and in developed countries as well. That fear of stepping, even if they've got the opportunity to consult and they might have an offer on the table, to step away from that whole package. I mean, what kind of reassurances can we give people that this will be okay? That the future is freelance if you want it to be. How can we help them make that step?
That's a really great question. I remember leaving my kind of like day job when I did my MBA in San Francisco many years ago, about 10 years ago. And I was just so scared to take that step. And I'm just this like young person and full of ideas and full of promise. And it's scary to take that first step. So I completely understand, especially if you've been in a senior role for a long time. You don't want to lose all of those benefits. But I promise that the world that you'll find out there might be a lot better and fitting towards your needs versus what you're used to and what you will leave behind. And there is solutions out there. And I think we're actually partnering with Zolo, where you would be able to get those benefits through, let's say, a platform that you associate yourself with. And you don't have to be tied to that employer to get your health insurance, to get your pension and retirement, all of those things that come with employment. So it is possible. And a lot of companies are building around this. They're building a lot of interesting solutions so that you are able to be free, you're able to cross borders, you're able to live the best life that was meant for you versus the life that someone told you to live because you have to be based in London because your job is based in London.
Work isn't a place we have to go anymore, is it? And it's brilliant that more and more people are realizing that. It's interesting what you said about companies also shifting and maybe becoming more open to working with freelancers and contractors. Where do you see that going directionally? And what do you think is driving that change? Is it just that that's the only way they can hire the best people?
That's a really great question. And I have a lot of experience hiring freelancers. And actually, I love doing that, building teams. So, for example, my title is head of revenue. What that means is that I build revenue channels for my company at SafetyWing. So basically, I started building out the B2B sales channel. And right away, I started with 0 people. And in 9 months, I had 14 people kind of like up and running. A lot of them I was able to find through the freelance platforms. I think those are excellent because it's very easy to put up a quick post. You get a ton of great talent that are applying from all over the world. And you can also fit the budget that you have at the time. So if the budget is only 1,000, if it's 2,000, if it's 10,000, you can always find someone for that budget. And I love that. And it's instant. You can have someone up and running within a week. So that's been kind of like a secret weapon of mine where I've been able to use these platforms to be able to access great talent at a really good price. And of course, that talent, of course, grows with you and they make more as they gain more experience. But it's great for those people that just want to start out and say, hey, I have this to offer. Here is a reasonable price. Let me prove myself. And then the sky's the limit afterwards. So for me, I've had very good experiences and I continue to use freelance platforms.
Brilliant. I love the idea of it as a secret weapon because obviously hiring is often one of the most expensive commitments for any startup in terms of growth. And it's got to be a massive drawback if you think of that in 40-hour-a-week chunks. And so we've got to have a CMO or an administrator or whatever. If you think of it in terms of those massive building blocks of creating a full-time position, that's got to be really antithetical to growth according to need. Whereas if you think of it fractionally and go out and look for what you need exactly to fill that gap. And that's why working with freelancers is obviously so optimal. It sounds like in your team, you must have freelancers working alongside employees as well and people on different kinds of contracts. Do you experience any conflicts with that? What's that relationship like?
To be honest, Maya, we've held really like 100% retention since I started a year and a half ago. We have built an amazing culture where we make everyone feel part of the team, whether you're a contractor or you're full-time or you're a freelancer. You don't really see the difference. We don't treat people differently just because, let's say, they're on a full-time contract basis. And because the company was built with freelancers in mind, we're very welcoming and accommodating to those that want to be in a contract basis because of whether the tax purposes, however they want to structure their life. The cool part is also that we let our team be free to be creative and take on other projects. So, for example, a lot of us are entrepreneurial. A lot of us were solopreneurs or were startup founders, and we came to SafetyWing to build the social safety net. But we're still people that we have other interesting things that we do, like we advise other companies. We work with the EU for Innovation, and we work with Digital Nomad Fest, different things where you can apply your skills. And the company doesn't discourage that because they understand that you are a whole person and you need to do what is best for you, which actually turns out to be best for the company, because they get that know-how that you're also learning as you're doing more creative projects with other companies and people.
Definitely. I think that's such a refreshing attitude. And maybe it's one of, dare I say it, a positive legacy of this transitional period post-pandemic, that maybe companies are starting to realize that to retain the best talent, you've got to give people that liberation and that acceptance that they have other things going on in their lives, and that's how you benefit, and they bring that back to the table. Do you think that's because of your particular background as a Y Combinator alumni and an entrepreneur yourself, or is that something that goes through the whole company? Where does that come from, do you think, that amazing attitude?
This attitude I talk about a lot because I spent a lot of my career in Silicon Valley and New York, and I saw how toxic those environments were, even though a lot of companies touted that they had the best culture, they had the best benefits, this and that. Really, at the end, you knew that, the truth came out, and all of those cultures were very, very toxic. They're asking people to work 12-hour days or more. You're not taking any breaks. They're saying that you have unlimited vacations, but really you don't have any vacation because the top is not taking vacation, the executives. So they're leading by example. So when I came to SafetyWing, I really loved the mission and the vision, obviously, to build the first country on the internet and to give equal opportunity and access to everyone. And also to build this global social safety net. So I watched the founders as they're carrying their day during the work week or as they're moving along. And I'm seeing like, wow, they do take time off. They do take a week off. And wow, they do what they say. And it has become this really interesting experiment where I'm like, this is so great. Like I didn't expect this. I thought that, it's going to be all talk because a lot of the mission-driven companies are all talk. Right. But really, they walk the walk. And as a founder, to be so comfortable being employed by somebody else, I never expected this to be true. A lot of my friends said, are you sure you want to be working for someone? And I just feel so free. I feel free of location. I feel free of creativity. Like I can do what I want, when I want. And they truly put a lot of emphasis on the people they work with. And they want to make sure they build a culture that you wake up on Monday morning and you really feel free to be at, or not feel afraid about the week or stressed or pressured. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
and when
I feel fortunate.
So many people go through life dreading Monday mornings, and with that, work is something I have to do to get through, to separate that from the rest of my life so I can afford that lifestyle. For many people, it would be a completely unreachable dream to be somewhere where you feel positive about going to work. And for a lot of people, that means going freelance and doing your own thing. So clearly, to discover that within an employed situation that gives you all of those benefits and security and lets you be part of something bigger is really unusual. Do you think that's something that's shifting more widely in the world? I mean, clearly, SafetyWing is pioneering this approach, but do you think is hustle culture dead? Have we moved on?
I want to bring up a point of the great resignation, which we've heard over and over again in many publications. It's been a year that people are resigning in droves. They're switching jobs. And we're seeing that very low employment rates. So basically, people want to be treated in a way that they deserve to be treated. And they're saying, stop and enough to making me do things that you want me to do. Let me be me. Let me be creative. You hired me for a reason. Trust me to reach the goal. And I will find a way to reach that goal. You don't have to tell me that I have to be in a concrete box, like Andrea said. And just be there 9 to 5 or whatever hours you decide. I am a human being. I have experience. I come to the table with a lot that I can offer, and I know exactly how to do that. So, I don't need someone to supervise me. I don't need someone to take away my precious time in commuting. I don't need someone to tell me, here is exactly where you have to be for the next 30 years of your life. That's super scary.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw this like even coming out of college, like 15 years ago, I didn't want to get a job. I thought that getting a job was very inefficient, having to go to an office, driving, commuting, buying lunch outside, having to talk to colleagues. And I'm the kind of person that I am very productive in the shortest amount of time, and then I can also live my life. And I always ended up being at the top of the performance charts at all of the companies I worked for. So they let me be more flexible. But yeah, I mean, things are changing. People are realizing like, hey, not only did the pandemic prove that this is possible, but it's also more efficient. Now, why make us go back to the old ways where we proved that we can be even more productive, even better?
Yeah, I think that's such an amazing truth. And the sad thing is that still some corporations clearly don't get it. They're not there yet. When we hear about in the news about companies trying to make people come back to the office, trying to rewind time to 2019. And, it's as though people haven't had this transformative experience. And I don't know what's going to happen to those corporations.
I don't know. And I think it's also clinging on to old ways. And really, it's a big, I think, distrust in people. Because if you trust your people as a founder, as a manager of teams, and I build teams, I just give trust first. And that's what it's also giving at SafetyWing. Like you are giving trust. And we know that you will do what's best for the company. And actually, by doing that, you really empower the person to be the most creative, to come up with the best ideas, to do the best job, because they want to hold on to this work-life integration they have by being able to choose wherever they want to work from. And it's incredible to see how fulfilled and happy these people are. And I don't know when they say, oh, well, young people need to be in the office for X amount of years after school, because that's where they're going to socialize, they're going to learn XYZ. And I just don't agree with that. That wasn't me. I came out of school and I was like, why am I going to commute an hour each way? Why am I going to sit somewhere every day, like in a cubicle? I don't get it.
It's such weird thinking, isn't it? I don't know if it's a mix of, well, we had to go through that. And, I spent my 20s in a concrete box. So damn right, the next generation should have to suffer that. Or maybe they don't understand that young people today don't communicate and socialize like that anyway. And digital natives have a completely different experience of relationship building and learning, and everything else has been done in a completely different way than it was for a couple of generations
I'd rather
ago.
spend quality time, with my coworkers in a different setting, and let it be like once a quarter. It doesn't have to be every day. I don't have to see everyone every day. I really just want to get what I want to get done, and then move on.
In the meantime, as far as socializing is concerned, you get to choose who you spend time with, where you live, 100%. Where you go. It's not about, well, you have to come to the office or you won't meet anybody. I wonder if that's to do with lockdown, if people are still equating working from home with being shut in. And how can we help people really realize the flexibility that an unlocked world, once you've disconnected work from a place, there's so much more out there. What can we do to liberate people?
Yes, so that's a great point, Maya. We have to disconnect, work from a place. And that's where remote work gets a bad rap, is if you have to be locked down in an apartment in Manhattan or wherever that could be, and you don't have a choice to leave that city, that country, that place, you feel stuck, you feel unsocialized, you feel like everything is closing in. But for me, even during the pandemic, I was brave enough to travel still with a mask and everything. I didn't get COVID, but I was just, I was like, I have to get out. I have to go live my life. I don't need to be in one place. So I just picked up, with the kids, found a place that was, safe enough, and just followed protocol. And we really lived this life that was much more free than having to be locked down somewhere, with the kids at home.
Yeah.
So it is possible. What I'd say is, open your horizons. Look at countries that maybe have like a lower cost of living. Put your place up on Airbnb, rent it out. If you have a mortgage, let that Airbnb pay your mortgage. and then open up all this other, wonderful world that you can travel and enjoy and socialize with people from different cultures. Even if you're scared of different cultures, you can socialize with expats. There's so many expat groups in all the cities you go to, like Playa del Carmen or Tulum or Lisbon. So if you want to just socialize with the people you're comfortable with, you can also do that. But really get out, go out there, work from anywhere that you want.
Yes, maybe start with the expat groups, but don't stop there because otherwise you might as well stay at home. I don't know. I have a bit of a jaundice view of some of the expat groups in Europe. There's so much more to discover. But it's really interesting when we think about the way people were locked down often over the last couple of years, and now they're free to go outside in their own time. But some people still feel, even if they're working from home, there's a sense that their organization and their management hasn't released them, whether that's because they're still expected to commute to a central place for an arbitrary 2 days a week or something, or whether it's simply in their own minds that they still feel they've got to be constantly accountable or logged on, that they're not comfortable communicating asynchronously. Maybe there's a way we can help more people to think like employeepreneurs and bring some of the culture that you've built at SafetyWing to their roles. How can we do that from the bottom up, or does that have to come from leadership, do you think?
Yeah, well, so this is actually a complicated question, unfortunately, because of taxes and tax laws.
Right.
These laws were built, many, many years ago when people were much less mobile. So everything was around a city and a place and a country. So there, you have to pay taxes based on where you live and where you work, and the company has to pay taxes according to that. So unfortunately, those really old tax laws make it difficult for companies to give more freedom to their employees and contractors. However, there is a way to work around that. I'm not sure if you know John Lee from Work From Anywhere, WFA, I think .com. So he's very good with this type of thing. So if there is a company listening or a founder or solopreneurs and they want to figure out their tax situation, they want to let their people be more freelance and more free, it is good to chat with somebody like that. But I wish that our governments would speed up the process and become much more flexible when it comes to letting people move through borders and be where they want to be. Yes. But really the government has to take a lead.
Yeah, and obviously the policy and the regulation is always years, if not decades behind the technology and the social shifts. We'll get there in the end, maybe. I don't know. It feels like they can't even tax big corporations properly yet, cross borders, never mind individuals. But at least at SafetyWing, you're building that social underpinning for people to take those different structures on board. I think that's the thing. In the past, we had employees and we had freelancers, and bridging from the gap from one to the other was always the impossible challenge. And maybe the future we're looking at is going to be flexible there, that people can have a little bit of employment or, a bit of a directorship here or a contract there. And maybe that's the infrastructure we're looking at for the future.
Absolutely. And I think, governments need to build around this, because they will kind of like live and die with the people that they attract to their country. So if you become a government that's inflexible and you're not allowing people to move in and out, then you will slowly lose that brain talent. So you're going to have a big brain drain. As they say. And if you're a government that says, hey, come to my country, you are able to work from here. You don't have to pay taxes here if you don't want to, kind of thing. Or, with a digital nomad visa that we've been seeing with many countries adopt. Those are kind of like a step towards the right direction to allow people to live for a longer period of time versus having to abide by this 90-day rule or 120-day rule or 180-day rule.
Yes, indeed. And it seems that there are so many different structures and experiments now springing up, with all the different remote work and digital nomad visas having slightly different priorities and criteria. The choice and just trying to navigate that choice is becoming complicated, but that's why we need intermediaries to help us understand our own priorities and what we need. Can you talk a little bit about your nonprofit side, Plumia? I'd really like to do a whole podcast about this idea of creating a digital nation and passporting in the future, but maybe we could explore it a little bit now so people have a taster of what might be out there in the future.
Yes, so Plumia is a really, really cool project. Is, like you said, non-for-profit. It was started by several members of the SafetyWing team, and it's really being carried on by community. And the idea is that it would allow people to have a better proof of saying that we are worth letting in a country. So, for example, let's say you're born in Albania, like I was, or India, and you have a passport that is really difficult to get around. But you're a digital worker. You are a freelancer. You make lots of money. So why shouldn't you be let in a country just because you have a passport that usually gives you like the stop sign? So the idea is that can we create a passport, a pass, something that is a proof that this person is worth letting into your country, whether that is England, whether that is Portugal, whether that any country in the world. And the idea is that it would be so much easier to make people move, like freely move around the world, go after the opportunities they want, and also go after the life that they want. And I think that that's very easily doable because the people that we're talking about are people that have an income. They don't need your country to use your social services and use the safety net there. They would be coming in, bringing in income, spending dollars, and also coming in with a safety net, which SafetyWing has built. So they're not going to be using your services without paying you.
Yes.
Therefore, it makes so much sense to be able to offer such a thing versus putting up borders and stop signs and visas and all of this regulation.
It's so interesting. It's interesting for me personally as a Brit whose passport suddenly became a lot less valuable a couple of years ago in terms of my freedom of movement. And we have things like e-residency to support the business structure. We have global platform providers like Solo to help us do the business. But in terms of where we live, where we're tax resident, it's still really complicated. We need this kind of overarching global position to make that true. And what's fascinating for me is that remote workers and freelancers are the pioneers here. And I think countries really need to start listening to what those people can bring. It's a bit like refugee migrations all over the world that have often been met so negatively because people don't realize that these are the people who've actually got themselves together to make this move and to change their circumstances. And they can bring so much to their new home. And I think that there are a lot of parallels, obviously, not in terms of fleeing war and the way that refugee movements traditionally get led, but the kind of people who are the first to move and to recognize the potential. Remote workers can bring so much to a new place, whether they stay there for 2 months or 10 years. They will be spending, employing people, using hospitality. And we just need a way for them to safely and legally contribute to the local infrastructure costs. And that's been so difficult. I don't know. In Spain, I know there are so many people who work on the black market and it's so difficult to register as self-employed they keep talking about the remote work visa and it's still not ready yet. And so many countries are ahead. So maybe Plumia will be the thing that finally unifies it all, brings it all together.
Yeah, I hope so. I think you should have Lauren on the show. She's the director of Plumia, and she's extremely interesting. Also an author, and I think went to Oxford, and she's digital nomad, remote worker, all of those things. So she could add a lot of color there. But from my perspective, being an immigrant myself, and I immigrated for opportunity, I can see so much benefit that the internet brings to the world. And we just need an internet connection. We don't have to move because of opportunity, but we can move because we want to. And that's going to be the future of movement, global mobility in the future. It's not going to be so much because people really need that job in Spain. It's going to be because they want to live in Spain. They want to enjoy, they want to spend their money in Spain. So it's the complete opposite that what immigration used to look like. I immigrated to America because I needed opportunity. There was an opportunity in my country. But now that I can be connected in Timbuktu, I can work from anywhere. I don't need to be coming to Spain to access all of that you have built. But I want to come to Spain to give you my money and to live a good life there with you.
Yes, it's such a mind flip that people are going to have to go through in terms of how they welcome and embrace the more mobile community going forward. I think the future sounds really exciting. Are you excited about the future?
Always. I'm a futurist. So for me, the future is always bright and exciting.
Fantastic. What are you looking forward to next?
Next is building a home base and seeing how we're going to navigate the economy given what happened in the past 2 years, especially with the printing of money, seeing if we're going to adapt digital currency, like Bitcoin, where we can be more free about our money and our identity, and seeing new companies spring up that don't use your information to make money like in the past they have, where they have a big user base and they just sell your information to make money. I'm excited about what Web3 offers and the potential of keeping your digital identity and not giving it to companies.
Fantastic. SafetyWing as a DAO next. We'll have to see.
Yes.
I agree with you. There is so much to look forward to as we stand on this threshold of a huge global transformation. It's exciting to be driving that forward. It's been fantastic having you on the show, Lona, and sharing those insights. And if people want to keep in touch with you socially, follow what you're writing and talking about, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, please. LinkedIn is the perfect way. I'm most active there. And I think LinkedIn/Lona Alia. Just look me up, or SafetyWing. You can find us there, www.safetywing.com, not wings.
Right. We'll put all that in the show notes anyway, so people can just click on over. But for anybody who's just listening, not if you're driving, but if you're walking around and you just want to get straight in touch with Lona, then you know what to do. It's been really brilliant having you with us. Is there any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with? Or shall we just see you in the future?
Yes, you'll see me in the future. And the final thought is, if you are someone that is employing others, I would strongly advise to let people do what they want. So let them be flexible. If they want to, work from anywhere, let them do that and trust them. And it's just like, when you build a product, you build the product that people want, because if you don't, then you don't have a business. When you build a company, when you build a platform like Zolo, when you build kind of like a team, really give people what they want. So that's my final thought.
That's an amazing place to leave it. Lona Alia, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Maya. Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Solo.io, who offer compliance, taxation, invoicing and admin solutions for fiercely independent solopreneurs across the globe. From simply getting paid to launching a full EU-based limited company, Solo has you covered, thanks to Estonian e-residency and a superb suite of streamlined business software. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts.